July 20th, 1944. Ramitelli Airfield, southern Italy. First Lieutenant George Roberts stands in the operations tent holding a telegram from 15th Air Force Headquarters. The message is 3 sentences long. Your victory claims from July 17th mission have been reviewed. Gun camera evidence deemed inconclusive. Claims rejected. Roberts reads it twice. Then he folds the telegram carefully and places it in his breast pocket next to the 14 others he has received with identical language. Inconclusive, rejected, insufficient evidence. The words change slightly, but the meaning never does. 15 missions. 15 times his gun camera footage was good enough to record kills, but not good enough to confirm them. He walks to his footlocker and removes a small notebook from beneath his flight gear. The notebook contains 2 columns of numbers. The left column lists official confirmed victories as recognized by 15th Air Force. 4 entries. The right column lists actual kills as witnessed by himself, his wingman, his ground crew, and recorded on gun camera film that somehow became inconclusive when it reached headquarters. 20 entries. 20 versus 4. The gap has been widening for 11 months. Roberts adds 2 more marks to the right column, then he closes the notebook and returns it to the footlocker. He does not show this notebook to anyone. Keeping a personal scorecard that contradicts official records could be interpreted as questioning the integrity of the Army Air Force. Questioning the integrity of the Army Air Force while serving in a segregated Negro fighter group would end his career faster than German anti-aircraft fire, so he keeps the notebook hidden and says nothing. 3 days earlier, Roberts had flown his 97th combat mission, bomber escort to Ploesti. 16 B-17 Flying Fortresses approaching the oil refineries with 6 German fighters attempting to intercept. Roberts was one of 12 pilots from the 332nd Fighter Group assigned to stop them. The engagement occurred at 22,000 feet over the Adriatic Sea. Roberts spotted a Messerschmitt Bf-109 positioning itself below the bomber formation. He dove his P-47 Thunderbolt into firing position and triggered his 850 caliber machine guns. 2.3 seconds of fire. The Messerschmitt's engine exploded and the aircraft rolled inverted into an uncontrolled descent. Roberts did not follow it down. His job was protecting bombers, not chasing victories. He climbed back to altitude and found another German fighter attempting the same approach. The pilots saw him coming and broke into a defensive spiral. They circled each other in a descending helix, both aircraft bleeding altitude and speed. At 8,000 feet, the German reversed his turn, trying to force an overshoot. Roberts anticipated the move and pulled vertical, letting his fighter hang motionless for 3 seconds while the Messerschmitt slid into his gun sight. He fired. The German canopy shattered. The aircraft snapped into a spin. Both kills were recorded on his gun camera. Both were witnessed by his flight leader, Captain William Campbell. Both were documented in his after-action report. Both were rejected by headquarters as inconclusive. This was not unusual. This was standard procedure. Roberts understands how the system works because he has studied it carefully for 11 months. The Army Air Force requires every victory claim to be confirmed by a senior officer or physical evidence such as wreckage or gun camera footage. In theory, this prevents exaggeration. In practice, it creates 2 different standards. White fighter squadrons fly integrated formations, where pilots from different units witness each other's victories. A lieutenant from one squadron can have his kill confirmed by a captain from another squadron he has never met. The confirmation network is broad and flexible. Gun camera footage showing hits on target is generally accepted without extensive scrutiny. The 382nd Fighter Group flies segregated. Their victories must be confirmed by their own officers, nearly all of whom are black. And when a black lieutenant submits a victory claim confirmed by a black captain and supported by gun camera footage, 15th Air Force Headquarters applies additional scrutiny that white units never experience. No directive states this explicitly. No written order says black pilots must meet higher standards of proof. But Roberts has watched the pattern repeat 15 times. Footage that would be accepted from white squadrons is deemed ambiguous when submitted by the 382nd. Witness statements from black officers are treated as less reliable than identical statements from white officers. Physical evidence is weighted differently depending on who provides it. 5 times his gun camera footage was reported lost in transit. 3 times it was reported damaged and unreadable. 7 times it was reviewed and determined to show hits, but not definitive kills. The explanations vary, but the outcome remains constant. Claims rejected. Roberts is not the only pilot experiencing this. Every member of the 382nd Fighter Group maintains a private scorecard that diverges from official records. Some diverge by 1 or 2 victories, others by 5 or 10. Roberts suspects his gap is among the largest, but he has no way to verify because discussing the discrepancies openly would be interpreted as insubordination. The day after receiving his 15th rejection telegram, Roberts is assigned to fly escort for another bomber mission. Pre-flight briefing at 0530 hours. 12 fighters, 18 bombers. Target is a railroad marshalling yard in northern Italy. Expected enemy resistance moderate. Roberts climbs into his P-47 and runs through the pre-flight checklist with Sergeant Marcus Hayes, his crew chief. Hayes is examining the gun camera mounted behind the cockpit. Camera is functioning, Lieutenant. Film loaded. Lens clean. Good. Roberts straps into his harness and starts the engine. The Pratt & Whitney radial coughs, catches, and settles into a steady roar. Hayes climbs onto the wing and leans close so Roberts can hear him over the engine noise. Sir, about yesterday's rejection. We reviewed that footage before we sent it up. Both kills were clean. Clear as anything we have ever recorded. Roberts nods. He knows Hayes reviewed the footage. Hayes reviews all the footage. Hayes also maintains his own informal scorecard based on what he sees on film versus what headquarters confirms. Hayes knows the real numbers. I know, Sergeant. Nothing we can do about it. Yes, sir. Hayes jumps down from the wing. Good hunting today. The mission proceeds without incident until the bombers reach their target. German fighters appear at 14:20 hours. 8 Messerschmitts diving from altitude. Roberts and his wingman intercept 2 of them before they can reach the bombers. Roberts fires at the lead fighter from 300 yards. Tracers walk across the wing route. The Messerschmitt trails smoke and breaks away from the formation. Roberts does not pursue. A smoking aircraft is not a confirmed kill unless it crashes and someone witnesses the impact or finds wreckage. He engages the second fighter. This pilot is more skilled. They circle each other at 12,000 feet, neither able to gain advantage. The fight continues for 90 seconds before the German makes an error, pulling too hard in a vertical reversal and bleeding too much speed. Roberts closes to 150 yards and fires. The Messerschmitt's tail section disintegrates. The aircraft tumbles out of control and falls toward the mountains below. Roberts watches it fall for 5 seconds to verify impact. The fighter strikes a ridgeline and explodes. Definitive kill. Witnessed. Camera recorded. He returns to base at 16:30 hours. Hayes is waiting at the revetment. How many, sir? 1 confirmed. 1 probable. Camera was running for both. Hayes removes the film canister and hands it to Roberts personally rather than routing it through normal channels. Roberts takes it directly to Lieutenant Jerome Williams, the intelligence officer. Williams is black, one of 3 intelligence officers assigned to the 382nd. I need this footage reviewed before it goes to headquarters, Roberts says quietly. Williams understands immediately. He takes the canister to the photo lab and develops the film while Roberts waits. 30 minutes later, Williams returns with the footage on a portable viewer. They watch it together in silence. The first engagement shows clear hits on the wing and engine, smoke trailing, the aircraft breaking away but not visibly crashing. probable kill at best. The second engagement shows the Messerschmitt's tail section separating from the fuselage, the aircraft tumbling, impact with terrain, explosion, definitive kill by any standard. This is good footage, Williams says. Clear documentation of destruction. I will include it with your after-action report. Roberts nods. He knows what will happen. The footage will be forwarded to 15th Air Force Headquarters. A white officer will review it. The review will determine that while the footage shows an aircraft crashing, attribution to Roberts cannot be definitively established because other fighters were operating in the same area. The kill will be listed as probable. It will not be added to his official count. 2 weeks later, the telegram arrives. Victory claim from August 3rd mission reviewed. Evidence insufficient for confirmation. Claim rejected. Roberts adds another mark to his private notebook. 21 actual kills. 4 official confirmations. The gap is now 17. That evening he sits in his tent writing a letter to his wife in Alabama. He does not mention the rejection. He does not mention his private scorecard. He writes about ordinary things because explaining the scorecard would require explaining a system that cannot be explained without sounding bitter. And bitterness is dangerous for a black officer serving in a segregated unit in a segregated army fighting a war against fascism. He finishes the letter and seals it. Then he opens his footlocker and looks at the notebook. 21 victories that no one except himself, his squadron, and his ground crew will ever acknowledge. He thinks about the white pilots at other airfields who have 5 confirmed kills and are being celebrated as aces. 5 kills earns ace status, newspaper articles, respect. Roberts has 21 and cannot prove it because the proof keeps disappearing into a system designed to make it disappear. He closes the notebook and returns it to the footlocker beneath his flight gear, where it will remain hidden until the war ends and the truth no longer matters. September 12, 1944. Officers Club, Ramitelli Airfield. First Lieutenant George Roberts sits at a corner table reading a 2-week-old copy of Stars and Stripes. The headline announces that Captain Richard Bong of the 5th Air Force in the Pacific has become America's leading ace with 28 confirmed victories. The article includes a photograph of Bong shaking hands with General Douglas MacArthur. There is talk of a Medal of Honor, a publicity tour back in the States, perhaps a book deal after the war. Roberts folds the newspaper and sets it aside. 28 confirmed victories. He wonders how many of those 28 were confirmed by gun camera footage identical to the footage that keeps getting rejected from his own missions. He wonders if Captain Bong ever received a telegram stating that his evidence was inconclusive. Across the room, a group of white liaison officers from 15th Air Force Headquarters are drinking and celebrating. Roberts recognizes one of them, Major Edmund Graves, who serves on the Victory Confirmation Board. Graves is the officer who reviews gun camera footage and witness statements to determine which kills receive official credit. Roberts has never spoken to him directly. All of Roberts's victory claims are processed through Lieutenant Williams and forwarded to Graves for final determination. Roberts watches Graves laughing with his colleagues and considers walking over to introduce himself. Perhaps if Graves met him in person, saw him as a fellow officer rather than a name on a form, the next batch of footage might receive a more favorable review. Perhaps personal contact could overcome whatever administrative barrier keeps rejecting his claims. He stands and walks toward the group. As he approaches, the conversation stops. The white officers turn to look at him. The silence extends for 3 seconds. "Can we help you, Lieutenant?" Major Graves asks. His tone is not hostile. It is merely formal, the way a superior officer addresses a junior officer he does not know. "Sir, I am First Lieutenant George Roberts, 392nd Fighter Group. I wanted to introduce myself. I have submitted several victory claims that were reviewed by your office." Graves nods politely. I review many claims, Lieutenant. The process is thorough to ensure accuracy. If your claims were not confirmed, it means the evidence did not meet the required standard. Yes, sir. I understand the standard. I was hoping to discuss what additional evidence might be required. My gun camera footage has been rejected multiple times as inconclusive, and I would like to understand what would make it conclusive. Graves exchanges a glance with the other officers at the table. Roberts can see them processing the situation. A black lieutenant questioning the confirmation process, asking for clarification on rejected claims. This is not a conversation anyone wants to have in an officers' club. Lieutenant, the standards are clearly defined in regulations. Gun camera footage must show definitive destruction of enemy aircraft with clear attribution to the pilot making the claim. If your footage does not meet that standard, additional claims will not change the determination. Sir, with respect, I have reviewed my footage alongside Lieutenant Williams. We documented clear destruction with visual confirmation of impact, the same standard of evidence that has been accepted from other units. The room has gone quiet. Other officers are watching now. Roberts realizes he has made a mistake. He came here hoping that personal contact would help. Instead, he has created a situation where a black officer is publicly questioning the judgment of a white superior officer in front of witnesses. This will not end well. Graves sets down his drink. His expression remains neutral, but his voice carries an edge. Lieutenant, are you suggesting that the confirmation board is applying standards incorrectly? No, sir. I am simply asking for clarification on what evidence would be sufficient. The evidence you have submitted has been reviewed and found insufficient. That is the determination. If you wish to file a formal appeal, you may do so through your chain of command. This is not the appropriate venue for that discussion. Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Roberts walks back to his table. His hands are shaking slightly. He just made things worse. Much worse. He attempted to work within the system to seek clarification through official channels, and instead he publicly questioned the integrity of the confirmation process in front of multiple witnesses. By tomorrow morning, every officer at headquarters will know that a pilot from the 382nd challenged Major Graves about rejected victory claims. Roberts leaves the officers' club and walks back to his tent. He does not sleep well that night. 3 days later, Lieutenant Williams calls Roberts to the intelligence office. We have a problem, Williams says quietly. He hands Roberts a memorandum from 15th Air Force headquarters. The memorandum states that due to concerns about the accuracy of victory claims from certain units, all future gun camera footage from the 332nd Fighter Group will be subject to enhanced review procedures. This includes independent verification by multiple officers and comparison against wreckage recovery reports and witness statements from other units operating in the same area. Roberts reads the memorandum twice. Enhanced review procedures. This is not a clarification of standards. This is an additional layer of bureaucracy that will make confirmation even more difficult. And it applies specifically to the 322nd Fighter Group, not to other units, just to them. This is because of what I said to Graves, Roberts says. Williams nods. I believe so. Someone filed a complaint that pilots from our unit were disputing confirmation decisions. Headquarters responded by tightening the standards specifically for us. Roberts sits down. He tried to improve the situation by seeking clarification through proper channels. Instead, he triggered a bureaucratic response that made everything worse. The system did not bend. It hardened. His attempt to work within it was interpreted as insubordination, and now every pilot in the 332nd will face even stricter confirmation requirements because he asked one question. I need to apologize to the squadron, Roberts says. No, Williams replies. You did nothing wrong. You asked a legitimate question through appropriate channels. The fact that it resulted in retaliation tells you everything you need to know about how this system works. You cannot fix this by apologizing. You can only accept it. 2 weeks later, Roberts flies a mission that should have ended all debate about his combat effectiveness. Bomber escort to Munich. 24 B-17s with 18 fighters from the 332nd providing cover. German fighters intercept in force. 16 Messerschmitts and Fokker-Wulfs attacking from multiple directions. Roberts shoots down 3 enemy aircraft in 7 minutes. All 3 kills are textbook engagements. The first fighter explodes after a 2-second burst at close range. The second crashes into a hillside after its wing separates. The third goes down smoking and impacts in a forest. All 3 are witnessed by multiple pilots. All 3 are recorded on gun camera with clear footage showing hits, damage, and destruction. Roberts lands and submits his after-action report with witness statements from 4 other pilots and complete gun camera documentation. He is confident that at least one of the 3 kills will be confirmed. 3 witnessed kills with clear footage. Surely the enhanced review procedures will recognize the validity of at least one. The response arrives 12 days later. All 3 claims rejected. Gun camera footage deemed inconclusive despite multiple witness statements. Insufficient physical evidence of wreckage recovery. Attribution uncertain due to other units operating in the general area. Roberts adds 3 more marks to his private notebook. His personal scorecard now shows 31 actual kills. His official record remains at 4 confirmed victories. That afternoon, Roberts learns that Lieutenant James Wiley, a white pilot from the 31st Fighter Group, has been awarded ace status for his 5th confirmed kill during the same Munich mission. Wiley was operating in the same area as Roberts, engaging the same group of German fighters. Wiley's 5th kill was confirmed based on gun camera footage showing hits on target and a witness statement from his wingman. No wreckage recovery was required. No independent verification from multiple officers. Just footage and a witness statement. The same evidence that was deemed insufficient when Roberts submitted it. Roberts does not react. He has learned that reacting accomplishes nothing. He simply adds the information to his mental catalogue of evidence documenting how the system works. White pilot, gun camera plus witness statement. Confirmed. Black pilot. Gun camera plus 4 witness statements. Rejected. The pattern is undeniable. That evening, Sergeant Hayes approaches Roberts at the flight line. "Sir, I heard about the Munich rejections. That footage was the clearest we have ever recorded. If that was not good enough, nothing will be good enough." "I know, Sergeant." "What are you going to do?" Roberts looks at his P-47 sitting in the revetment. The aircraft has carried him through 112 combat missions. He has fired his guns in anger 62 times. He has shot down 31 enemy aircraft. The official record shows 4. The gap is now 27 victories that will never be acknowledged. "I am going to keep flying," Roberts says. "I am going to keep fighting. I am going to protect the bombers and complete the mission. That is my job." The scorecard does not change the job. "Yes, sir." Hayes hesitates. "For what it is worth, sir, everyone in this squadron knows your real numbers. We keep track. We know what you have done." "Thank you, Sergeant. But the squadron knowing does not help when the war ends, and the only thing that matters is the official record." Hayes has no response to that. Roberts returns to his tent and opens his footlocker. The notebook is there beneath his flight gear. 31 marks in the right column. 4 in the left. He considers throwing the notebook away. What is the point of documenting something that will never be recognized? What is the point of maintaining a private scorecard that contradicts official records? But he does not throw it away. He returns it to the footlocker and closes the lid. 2 days later, Roberts receives orders to report to the squadron commander's office. Major Andrew Turner, the commanding officer of the 332nd Fighter Group, is waiting with Lieutenant Williams. "Lieutenant Roberts, I have received an inquiry from 15th Air Force Headquarters regarding your recent interaction with Major Graves at the Officers' Club. There has been a complaint that you inappropriately challenged the victory confirmation process and questioned the integrity of reviewing officers. I need to know exactly what happened. Roberts explains the conversation precisely as it occurred. He sought clarification on evidence standards. He asked what would make his footage acceptable. He did not accuse anyone of bias or misconduct. He simply asked a question. Major Turner listens without interrupting. When Roberts finishes, Turner nods slowly. Lieutenant, I believe you acted appropriately. However, Headquarters does not share that assessment. They view your inquiry as an improper challenge to established procedures. They have requested that I formally counsel you regarding adherence to chain of command protocols when disputing administrative decisions. Yes, sir. I am required to document this counseling in your personnel file. It will not affect your current duties, but it will remain part of your permanent record. Roberts understands what this means. A documented counseling for questioning the confirmation process. If he continues to dispute rejected claims, the next step will be formal reprimand. After that, possible removal from flight status. The system is sending a clear message. Accept the official scorecard or face consequences. I understand, sir. Good. You are dismissed. Roberts salutes and leaves the office. He has lost. The system won. He cannot prove his victories because the system controls what counts as proof. He cannot appeal through official channels because appealing is treated as insubordination. He cannot speak publicly about the discrepancy because that would be interpreted as questioning the integrity of the Army Air Force. His only option is silence. Keep flying. Keep fighting. Accept whatever the official record says and hope that someday, somehow, the truth will matter. But he knows it will not. The official record is the truth. Everything else is just memory, and memory fades when no one is allowed to speak it aloud. May 8, 1945, Ramitelli Airfield, Italy. The war in Europe is over. First Lieutenant George Roberts sits in his tent listening to the announcement over the base public address system. Germany has surrendered unconditionally. All combat operations in the European theatre have ceased. The pilots of the 332nd Fighter Group will remain on standby pending demobilization orders. Roberts opens his footlocker and removes the notebook. He counts the marks in the right column. 103. Over 3 years of combat operations, 103 enemy aircraft destroyed. The left column shows 4 confirmed victories. The gap is 99. He did not expect the gap to reach this number. When he started keeping the notebook in early 1943, he thought eventually the system would recognize his victories. He was wrong. The more evidence he submitted, the more strictly it was reviewed, the more often it was rejected. 103 versus 4. The mathematics of invisibility. Before leaving Italy in June, Roberts attends a final formation where the assembled pilots of the 382nd Fighter Group receive commendations for their service. After the ceremony, Sergeant Marcus Hayes approaches Roberts privately. Hayes is carrying a canvas bag. Sir, I wanted you to know that I kept my own records. Gun camera footage, witness statements, mission logs, everything. I documented 103 kills attributed to you over 3 years. I have copies of footage that was reported lost or damaged. I kept it all. Roberts looks at the bag. Why? Because someone needed to. Because the official record is wrong, and someone needed to document that it was wrong. Hayes hands him the bag. I do not know if it will ever matter, but you should have this. It is yours. Roberts takes the bag. Inside are film canisters, typed witness statements, mission reports with Hayes's handwritten annotations. 3 years of evidence that Headquarters rejected. Hayes spent 3 years documenting what the system refused to see. Thank you, Sergeant. Hayes salutes. It was an honor to crew your aircraft, sir. Whatever the paperwork says, I know what you did. We all know. Roberts returns to Alabama in July 1945. His wife meets him at the train station. She asks about his service. He tells her he flew escort missions, protected bombers, came home safe. She asks how many enemy planes he shot down. He says 4. That is the official number. Explaining the real number would require explaining a system he cannot explain without bitterness. The years after demobilization blur together in a sequence of rejections. Commercial airlines will not hire Negro pilots regardless of combat experience. Aircraft manufacturers will not hire Negro engineers despite his degree from Tuskegee. He finds work as a mechanic at a municipal garage earning half the wages paid to white mechanics for identical work. He reads newspaper articles about white pilots publishing memoirs and conducting speaking tours. He does not write a memoir. Who would believe it? 5 years pass. Roberts is 38 years old, working at the garage, living a life that has nothing to do with the war he fought. He has not flown an aircraft since his demobilization. The notebook and Hayes's documentation remain in storage, untouched. Then, in March 1950, he receives a letter. The envelope bears the official seal of the United States Air Force. Roberts opens it carefully. The letter is from the Personnel Office, Headquarters Air Force. It states that due to the outbreak of hostilities in Korea, the Air Force is recalling experienced pilots to active duty. According to their records, First Lieutenant George Roberts flew 147 combat missions in World War II with 4 confirmed aerial victories. His experience qualifies him for immediate recall to flight status with promotion to captain. The Air Force requests his response within 30 days. Roberts reads the letter 3 times. His hands are shaking. The Air Force needs him now. After 5 years of rejecting his victory claims, documenting his counseling for questioning procedures, maintaining a system that denied him recognition, they need him. They need experienced pilots who can train the next generation, who can fly combat missions, who can help win another war. The letter sits on his kitchen table for 2 days. Roberts looks at it every morning. He thinks about returning to flight status. He thinks about wearing the uniform again. He thinks about flying missions where his victories might actually be confirmed using fair standards. Then he thinks about the notebook. 4 confirmed kills when he had 103. He thinks about the enhanced review procedures implemented specifically to reject claims from the 322nd Fighter Group. He thinks about Lieutenant Williams forwarding gun camera footage that disappeared. He thinks about Major Graves and the Officers Club and the counseling in his permanent file. The Air Force had 5 years to correct his record, 5 years to acknowledge what Sergeant Hayes documented, 5 years to apply the same confirmation standards to Negro pilots that white pilots received. They did nothing. Now they need him, and suddenly his experience is valuable. Suddenly his 147 missions matter. Suddenly he is worth promoting to captain. Roberts writes his response on March 15, 1950. The letter is brief. He thanks the Air Force for the offer, but states that civilian obligations prevent him from returning to active duty. He does not mention the confirmation problem. He does not mention the 99 unconfirmed victories. He does not explain that he cannot serve an organization that refused to recognize his service when recognition mattered. He seals the letter and mails it. The Air Force does not contact him again. 21 more years pass. Roberts continues working at the garage. The notebook remains in storage. He does not discuss the war. He does not attend veteran reunions. He lives quietly, fixing cars, earning modest wages, growing old in a country that never acknowledged what he did for it. Then, in August 1973, another letter arrives. This one is from the Air Force Historical Research Agency. Roberts is 61 years old. He opens the envelope expecting a form letter about veteran benefits or memorial service announcements. The letter states that his combat record has been reviewed as part of an investigation into confirmation procedures applied to the 322nd Fighter Group during World War II. The investigation determined that Negro pilots were subjected to systematically higher confirmation standards than white units. Victory claims that would have been automatically approved for white pilots were rejected when submitted by Negro pilots. Based on newly located gun camera footage and re-evaluation of witness statements using corrected standards, the Air Force is prepared to officially recognize 78 additional victories, bringing his confirmed total to 82. Roberts stops reading. His vision blurs. He sets the letter down and walks to the window. Outside, cars pass on the street. People walk to work. The world continues, as if nothing has changed. 82 confirmed victories would make him the highest-scoring American fighter pilot of World War II. Higher than Richard Bong. Higher than any pilot in any theater. The recognition he should have received in 1945 is being offered in 1973, 28 years late. He picks up the letter and continues reading. The Air Force invites him to participate in a ceremony where the revised record will be officially recognized. There will be a formal presentation, media coverage, acknowledgement of the injustice. Roberts reads the invitation twice. Then he sits down at his kitchen table with paper and pen. He writes that while he appreciates the corrected record, he must decline participation in any ceremony. He does not elaborate. He does not explain that recognition offered 28 years after it should have been granted feels less like justice and more like an administrative correction of an embarrassing error. He does not mention that Sergeant Hayes, who kept the documentation that vindicated his claims, died in 1967 without knowing his records were accurate. He does not mention the other pilots from the 302nd who maintained private scorecards and died without recognition. He simply declines politely and mails the letter. The Air Force updates his record administratively. First Lieutenant George Roberts, 302nd Fighter Group, 82 confirmed aerial victories, highest-scoring American fighter pilot of World War II. The correction is noted in military archives and historical databases. A few aviation historians mention it in updated reference books. There are no newspaper articles, no ceremonies, no public recognition. The record exists in files that almost no one will ever read. 21 victories remain unconfirmed even after the investigation. The gun camera footage for those engagements was destroyed or lost beyond recovery. The witnesses are dead or cannot be located. The evidence no longer exists. Those 21 kills will remain in the notebook, but nowhere else. Roberts returns to work at the garage. He does not discuss the updated record with anyone. The recognition came. It arrived 28 years late, and it changed nothing except numbers in a database. That evening, he removes the notebook from storage for the first time in decades. He opens it and looks at the two columns. 103 marks in the right column. 4 marks in the left column that should now read 82. He does not update the left column. The notebook was never about the official record. It was about documenting what he knew to be true when no one else would acknowledge it. The official record has been corrected. The notebook served its purpose. Roberts takes the notebook outside. He has a small fire pit in his backyard where he burns trash. He lights a match and holds it near the notebook. One motion, and it will be gone. All the careful documentation. All the marks representing victories the system refused to see. He holds the match until it burns down to his fingers. Then he drops it and lights another. He stands there for 5 minutes, holding matches that burn out one after another. Finally, he closes the notebook and returns it to storage. He cannot burn it. Not because the official record has been corrected, but because those 103 marks represent something the corrected record does not capture. They represent 3 years of flying combat missions while knowing the system was designed to deny him credit. 3 years of submitting evidence that would be rejected. 3 years of watching white pilots receive recognition for less, while he accumulated victories no one would acknowledge. The notebook remains, not as proof anymore, just as memory. Roberts returns inside. Tomorrow he will go back to the garage and repair cars. The updated record exists in an archive he will never see. 82 confirmed victories. Highest scoring American fighter ace. Recognition that came 28 years after it mattered. The notebook stays in storage where it has been for decades. The official record has been corrected. And George Roberts continues working at a garage, fixing transmissions and replacing brake pads, living a quiet life that has nothing to do with the numbers in either column.